Recipients will see in their monthly benefits. With a recent rise in inflation, that could mean a big increase. Brandon Lewis looks into some of the estimates.
Income recipients. This is called a cost of living adjustment, or COLA, and is tied closely to inflation. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, AARP, and Mary Johnson, a Social Security and Medicare policy analyst with the Senior Citizens League. Social Security's cost of living adjustment is expected to be higher than average in 2023.
To get this money, they need to file their taxes, correct?
Exactly, Walt, and not just file their taxes, but do it as soon as possible. In fact, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for people who are eligible to receive these benefits.
A new batch of Ford stimulus checks have been approved, and the checks are going out very, very soon. Everybody should be happy for this because a recent poll found that 2/3 of Americans are in support of a Ford stimulus payment. And a recent poll shows that about 60% of households and voters agreed and expressed some degree of support for stimulus inflation checks. And of those who agreed the federal government should do so, 42% people say they agree with this and that stimulus needs to be sent out fast. Inflation has also been hovering at painfully high levels. The consumer price index in September rose 0.4% from August. In the same month, everybody, the personal consumption's CPI index also increased. So according to Newsweek, 18% of Americans indicate they don't support the federal government sending stimulus checks. But multiple states have either said they will send out stimulus checks to residents or have already done so. In the past couple of years, the federal government has sent out 3 rounds of stimulus checks, and it's all aimed at providing relief to Americans. The first was $1,200, second was $600, and $1,400. Together, that's a $2,000 stimulus payment. And certain low-income homeowners and renters in Pennsylvania are currently eligible for a one-time tax reimbursement. The rebate's baseline value is $650, but eligible homeowners, everybody, can increase it to $975. Residents who fulfill certain income standards are 65 years of age or older, widows and widowers who are age 50 and older, and disabled adults. So the governor has also joined representatives to call for more stimulus payments in the state of Pennsylvania. They want $2,000 direct checks. The governor said the money will make a life-changing difference to families who are struggling in the Commonwealth of America. And though the Pennsylvania Opportunity Program is established, the households with an income of $80,000 or less will get a direct check of $2,000. It was first introduced in February, and now it's just beginning to go out. The governor now proposes using general funds and has the support of Democratic members who have submitted to co-sponsorship memos in the House and Senate. And more than 200,000 people in Oregon receive $600 checks from the state as soon as this week. Lawmakers approved the one-time payments, and low-income workers are set to receive it. The Oregon Department of Revenue said that it would distribute nearly $140 million to households, 200,000 of them to be exact. Payments are limited to 1 per household, and about $82 million will be deposited directly into your account. So it's all for the stimulus payments, everybody. $60 million will be sent to people who need it the most. So the state is paying for stimulus payments with federal crisis money.
Is now down to 0.6, but now it's converging towards where markets are. So it's I think it is very repeatable.
So let's get serious about this move. How far do you think it can go? How long do you think it can last?
I think that the June rally and the sort of false dawn pivot is a minimum template. That was about a 20% rally over 25 trading days. I think this one's going to be far stronger.
Wait. Stronger than 20%?
From the low. At least 25% from the 3,500. So something that could carry us to 44 or higher. And that's because we have, for the first time, sort of the ingredients for the Fed to do a convincing.
Today, nearly 40 million Americans live in poverty, and tonight, almost 600,000 people will be sleeping out on the streets or in homeless shelters. They have no apartments, no places in which to live. And here's an important fact to remember. In our country today, the average worker is making $42 a week less than he or she made 49 years ago. In other words, when you try to appreciate the anger that exists in this country, the discontent, it has a lot to do with the fact that the average American worker is worse off in terms of real inflation weekly income than was the case 49 years ago. At Think about that.
So yes, everybody, President Biden definitely should do more for the American people and send out stimulus checks. If you guys agree with me, tell me in the comments down below. Do you think that President Biden will send out stimulus payments before the end of the year?
So we're here today to talk about what everybody's talking about, and that is record high gas prices. And whether you're here in Washington, D.C., or whether you are up north in Alaska, everyone is seeing the impact. For 9 days now, we have seen the national average of our gas prices above the highest ever levels.
We have a ton of good news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI, and SSDI. Continue watching this video because you don't want to miss out on this. State governments want to allocate unused crisis relief money towards a new stimulus plan. This bill will provide Americans with a stimulus check worth up to $2,000. Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf is once again calling on state lawmakers to approve his plan to give the people of Pennsylvania a check using federal crisis relief dollars. Governor Wolf says he wants to use $500 million of the $2.2 billion of unspent federal crisis money to give people in Pennsylvania a one-time state stimulus check of up to $2,000. But the former president and President Biden got congressional approval for their federal stimulus checks. So far, the Wolf state stimulus plan has had a good reception from the public. Now, if the legislature passes the bill, checks would come from the Pennsylvania Treasury and not be taxed as income. Wolf's $1.7 billion proposal includes $225 million in support for small businesses, $325 million for the state's healthcare system, $204 million for direct property tax relief. In other words, the stimulus money will go back to the local economy. There are some Republicans that oppose the relief. Some Republicans are slow to get on board. The state treasurer leaves decisions regarding specific budget proposals to the General Assembly and has urged lawmakers to look further down the road in 2026 as they consider spending plans. That's the year when the independent fiscal office projects the state will have a $1.4 billion deficit. Also, everybody, here's some breaking news. A leading House Democrat just called on President Biden to replace the IRS commissioner. The Representative Bill Pascrell of New Jersey is the chair of the Oversight Committee of the House Ways Committee. The call to fire Chuck Reddick came after the Treasury Department's Inspector General for Tax Administration released the findings of an audit. The audit revealed that the IRS has continued to have a significant backlog of paper-filed individual returns that remain unprocessed. According to CNBC News, that the inability to process backlogs contributed to decisions to destroy an estimated 30 million paper-filed paper returns. Now, tax preparers have told CNBC News that they fear the destruction of documents could leave the IRS unable to verify details on the taxpayers' returns, which in turn can lead to refunds being delayed. The IRS has said in an official statement there were no negative taxpayer consequences as a result of the action, and taxpayers or payers have not been and will not be subject to penalties resulting from this action. The explanation was not good enough for the representative, who said that,
Thank you. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.